Alright, welcome to meeting 91. Today we're going to be covering binary exploitation, or the basics of it, and it's pretty neat. I'll be honest.
Alright, it is 219.501.
Hacking information, cybersecurity, baby.
Good memes, good memes.
What's up, Aaron?
Alright. Robbie, you want to come up and...
Of course.
We got this patrician here. Real patricians. What's up, guys? I'm Robbie. Secretary announcements as usual. Nothing's crazier today. As always, if you're new, join the Slack. Slack's where everything happens. Not a lot to be said on that front. Now for announcements, as ever, I love that meme. It's the best film of all time. But dodgeball team, games every Thursday. Depends on the time, but we're winning this week, 100%. Bi-weekly lab events. Ryan is not here, is he?
No. I don't know about the future of bi-weekly lab events, so we'll see.
Okay, we'll keep everybody posted on that. Yeah, to be determined, but we'll get everybody posted on that. And as always, organizational planning meeting is on Sunday. Now, organizational meetings, we basically just show up at Mr. Sushi, give our inputs on what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, and just kind of get an idea of the course of the club. So we heavily encourage everyone to go to these that wants to. These are more casual. This isn't an executive high-level meeting. We're just talking. We want everyone's opinion. We want as much inputs on these things as we can. So we encourage you guys to join us 6:30 every Sunday at Mr. Sushi to talk about the future of the club as a whole. And lastly, CTF team. Who's got more of the details on that?
So, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, give the weekly schedule for them.
Oh, the CCF team?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to meet Saturday. We're not going to meet this Saturday, though.
Not this Saturday?
I haven't thought this through for this week.
Okay, well, Chris will keep everybody posted.
Maybe we can do like Hack the Box.
Yeah.
One of these days, because I like Hack the Box a lot. Maybe that'd be good.
Like I said, we're final for Franco.
Yeah, that's true.
You have a final 3 weeks ahead?
Yeah.
Which is nice to be
It's
done
like
with.
3
Yeah,
days
it's
long. So
literally a 3-day long event.
gets us like before finals week, so we have time for our other finals.
Yeah, I kind of like that, honestly.
Yeah.
But,
And I have more
Friday at
announcements.
3 and it ends
okay.
Sunday.
Then AJ, if you have anything special you want to announce.
Cool.
Announce
Yours
some
go.
stuff later.
All right, so as you guys know, we talked about last week, Aaron McCanty from Battelle is coming to visit with us next week, next Wednesday. What, is that the next slide?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Just to let you guys know again. So he's coming next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, and he's going to be talking about reverse engineering, just concepts, maybe walk through some stuff with us, but it should be pretty awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing him here again, which then brings me to my next point, which I really, really want you guys to know about, which is the visit to Columbus, to Battelle's, operation up there for a day of video game hacking. Basically, we're going to go up there. We're going to be there from 11 to 4 p.m. And they basically have this game where to win it, you have to hack it. And they will be pairing us up with other people that do this kind of stuff for Battelle. So it'll be a really fun time. I think Mike is going to post the sign-up sheet in the Slack again. You have to be a U.S. citizen. I think we're all U.S. citizens here. But yeah, I think 8 people have filled it out so far. So if you haven't filled it out, please fill it out. We need that to give to Aaron by next week so we can go up there and kick some ass in these video game challenges. What's up?
What time is the Wednesday? What time is the Wednesday talk?
Meeting. Just at our meeting. Yep, 6:30. This place Wednesday. So if you have friends that are interested in this kind of stuff, let's try to get a good turnout to this meeting for Aaron. I know it's probably around like some finals weeks for some of you guys. I know at least exams are this week for me. So we'll figure it out. It'll be a great time regardless. And yeah, please fill out the sign-up sheet for that event, and then we're going to go kick some ass. So, thanks. That's all I have.
Cool. Alright. Now, I think we're going to switch over to the news. Alright.
There's one. I shocked my laptop. One pretty big news thing this week. Yesterday, the Chinese national was arrested in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago.
While Trump was there, and she was carrying a laptop, an external hard drive, 4 phones, 2 passports. And she actually had several USBs, and like all of them had malware in them. So they think she was a spy. She said she was attending an event that definitely didn't exist, and she was not even registered member of the club.
She's there to use the pool, obviously.
There to use the pool.
I never go to the pool without 4 laptops, 2 passports, a laptop, and a couple USBs per hour.
Of course. How it keeps you afloat. So she never went to the pool, and then they arrested her at the next checkpoint she walked through.
She did not actually use the pool.
No.
Probably in normal clothes.
Yeah. So,
She's like, oh shit, I'm caught.
yeah, there was either an extreme language barrier there, or she's actually like an agent doing something.
Probably
No one's really sure yet. All right. We're going to go into basic binary exploitation today. This is really just basic tooling for binary exploitation. So, does anyone not know how binary files work? Because we're going to cover this anyway. It's not really an option.
Explain everything.
Okay. So, when you start with a program, you start with source code. This is assuming you start in C, or a language that will be compiled. Source code is plain text. And you compile a source code, and it goes into assembly, which is basically also plain text, except you can translate it into machine code, which is what your processor actually runs on. The assembly is assembled to an object file, which is a computer representation of what's going on, and things can move around at that point. Relocatable machine code, basically. Machine code is the actual instructions that the processor runs in bytes. Object files are linked to each other and their libraries, and those form binary files. So binary files are what we would call ALFs and PEs. And those are basically the files you can run. DLLs and shared object libraries are technically also both binary files and objects. They're kind of weird. And some of them you can actually run or link to other files. So they can do both. And that process looks like this. You have your source code, you turn it into assembly, turn that into an object file. Usually all of this on this side is handled by your compiler, and GCC, for example, you only see the source code. You can, if you want to, go into GCC and you can have some flags set that will actually spit the stuff out as it compiles down, but most people don't care about that. The types of binary files, we have PEs, which are used by Windows. This stands for portable executable. They're designed so you can take them between different versions of Windows. And technically, if you compile one for like Windows 10, it should run on DOS, but like DOS, old versions of DOS. But usually that like actual running on DOS part is just a stub program that says this program cannot run on DOS, which is really interesting. So that's one of like the signature strings of that. And then Linux, actually really everything else uses ELF for the most part. Mac has some weird proprietary thing that doesn't really appear that often. Executable in linker format, previously extensible linking format. They renamed it recently. It's pretty much the same thing, except it's not Microsoft. Both formats support static and dynamic linking. So static linking is when you have all your object files, and when you link them together, it creates one huge binary. And then dynamic linking is basically the opposite of that, where you have a already compiled shared object, or DLL. And then when your program runs, it asks the OS to load that for you into memory. And two programs can reference the same shared library. And ELF uses shared objects for that, whereas Windows uses dynamic linking libraries, DLLs. And those are both, they can both technically be executed as long as they have mains. Where I think it's slightly different for what their like the main function is. So it's kind of weird. But yeah. So the tools, this laptops.
Grab a laptop.
Alright, so we move down. So there's several tools used for stack analysis. Strings is a very common one that's basically on every OS. I don't think it's on Windows by default, but there are versions of it compiled for Windows. Basically, that goes through a binary file and just looks for any characters that it can print out. Readable data for it means at least 4 printable characters that are ended with a null terminator. Because that's a C-style string. I think you can adjust up and down. There's a couple different string types, but C strings are what most people look for. File, this is a Linux-based utility. In Windows, most files are identified by their dot extensions. Linux actually references the file by what's called its magic bytes. So you literally identify it based on magic. It's just a descriptor of the file that basically is the top of the
It's a small couple characters.
It's a couple bytes at the
file.
beginning of the file that actually describe what the file is. That's how all things should be identified, but Windows does not respect it at all.
So if you have like a JPEG image
Yeah.
and you open it up and you were like looking at the raw bytes of it, you should see JFIF.
Yeah, and we'll
That's
show this a little bit because you can see the raw bytes JFIF with strings. MD5 sum, that just gets the unique hash of a file through MD5. It lets you compare files without looking at them. Object dump, you just take a binary and it spits out assembly. Binwalk will read over a binary and look for other files inside of it. That's a little weird. Example would be if you had an image that had text inside of it, you could pull out the strings.
It's also good for stenography.
Yeah, people shove files into other files all the time, weirdly. And then for dynamic analysis, which means actually running your programs, we have our favorite disassemblers, Ghidra. And then GDB and GDB Jeff is what we'll jump into today. GDB is the GNU debugger, and basically it lets you step through a program at the assembly level, which is really nice. And Jeff is just an extension of GDB that makes it a little nicer to use. So, installing Jeff. Do you have a Linux distribution? Follow these instructions. If you don't, just cry. Oh, I messed up here. That shouldn't be there. And if you already have PEDA or Pwn debug, these are all basically the same thing. They have little differences between them, but for the most part, we just care about what it looks like, so you can see everything that's going on.
I like GDB better.
Yeah. Well, that is not really like maintained anymore. It's it's 7 months out of date, almost a year. Jeff is still an active project though. Yeah, they're still both very good. These instructions are on their GitHub if you want to just copy and paste them.
Or you can walk in through the commands too.
We'll do that in a little bit.
Cool. Just wanna-
I guess I should just made this one slide because the next slide is the ASO download things. Is anyone still getting set up? Okay. We're all waiting for Sam then.
Jeff looks like really nice.
Yeah.
It talks crap about.
It does talk crap
Pwn
about that.
debug.
They're basically the same tool though, without diving like super far into them.
Yeah, that's just fun.
If you're only using them to go over a little bit of data, they save you the same commands. Just how they're laid out. Sam's ready. All right. So crackmes are what we're going to play with. It's basically files meant for people to go and crack through reverse engineering. So these are challenges that are all over the internet. We're going to be using the ones from RPI Sec's Modern Binary Exploitation course. So if you just Google that, you should find their page. If you can't, it's right here. And then about the third section on the page, they have challenges.zip. You should be able to find it. Just extract it. And then we covered Battel's Goat Challenge several times. That's an example of a crack me.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to run through these the hard way, and then we're just going to load them into Ghidra, which is the far easier way.
You said, is this lab 1?
Is it Lab 1? It's just whatever one says challenges does it.
It's not on the GitHub. The person
It's on their website, which is linked to the GitHub. I don't know what's
Oh, okay, I gotta go to the
Yeah.
website. Yeah, because it wasn't on the GitHub.
Yeah.
Fourth one?
Yeah, it looks like it's different than the labs.
What?
Looks like it's different from the labs.
It's different from the GitHub?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't really looked through the GitHub to see what's on there. Alright. Is anyone still downloading these?
I can't find.
Can't find them. Alright, I'll just go to them. RPISec MDE. Click the fourth one if you're on Google, or just go to the GitHub.
How am I using DuckDuckGo?
Course website. Challenge. That's it. Challenges does it. Alright.
Oh. Challenges does it.
Too much. Yeah, challenges.zip from their class website. Alright, so just unzip it wherever. Probably doesn't matter because it has a folder inside of it that everything's contained. There it goes back. Alright. There's a very detailed document in here about the ELF format. If you want to read that, you can. It's very brief. It's like all the individual flag options on every single header in the format.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. What pages? Let's do this. Yeah, it's 60 pages, so some light reading.
Brief.
Brief. Yeah. So, you guys can read that. We just want to play around with the file. We can see what files are in this directory and what their types are. Can't really see that very well. There we go. So all the crackneys are ELF executables for 32-bit, which means they'll run on pretty much every x86 based machine. Yeah. And they were compiled for Linux using this stuff. That's not descriptive. All right. Dynamically linked. And then our PDF is a PDF. Our PNG is a PNG. Right. What else do we have on there? Strings. This will dump all the strings from a binary. So let's dump the strings through, say, our picture. Oh god. So here's all the string data in our picture. It's not really
Kind of
sensible. Oh, is it off the side? It doesn't make sense because it's a picture and it shouldn't have plain text in it, which makes sense. Although there should be a couple things in the top of it that say what file type it is. There's a lot of stuff in here. Oh my god. Okay, there's not enough to see apparently. Oh, I guess not. I guess that's for JPEGs. And then we can do switch. And then we can also just dump strings from any of our crackme files. I'll do 00A, just as an example. So these are all the important function calls. There's some strings in here. Obviously, they have some compilation information, some debug information with libc version 6. Enter password and congrats, that'll probably come up later. Alright, so let's open this in GDB. Or actually, no, let's just run it. Sorry. So if we want to run our first crack me, it asks for a password. We don't have the password. So we got to find that. It's our first challenge. So the example solution is to just dump the strings from it, and then what's it called, crack me. And then if we sort through our strings for the actual like human readable data that's not based on the programming information, we find good job with zeros instead of shit. It's gone. All right. We find good job with zeros instead of O's. So we can presume that's probably our password. So we can copy that.
You're just gonna guess it?
Yeah, I'm just going to guess it based on the strings.
Yeah.
We can open this up in Ghidra too, which is already open. So congrats, that was our password. It's good. If we open this up in Ghidra, which I think we've covered enough that I can just open it. Go to remain. Graph. Oh. We can see that there's a loop there where it's just asking for the password continuously. We can see that right here in Ghidra where it's just going back a couple steps. And then I think it calls scanf, yes. Yeah, which just gets a input from the terminal. Alright, so let's pair off and then do the rest of these crack maze. Good?
You want to go through a little bit more of them?
They're all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
I mean, have you seen this stuff before?
So the goal is basically to find the passwords for these ones. If you run them from the command line, it should all prompt you for a password. And then if you get it right, it should say congratulations. If I withdraw my laptop from the thing, will it break?
What?
If I take my laptop over there, it's going to break everything.
No.
None of you guys have Linux distro?
Not you guys.
Any of you guys have Linux distros? You do? Alright. What you saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, if you guys wanted to partner up, probably work through the rest of these guys. My DM set. You plugged in.
Oh my god, I unplugged
Good
it.
job, Chris.
That's good.
Chris.
It disconnected.
Yeah, my Linux is just straight not working. I'll fix it later.
Yeah, you're right.
You're gonna have to look at my video. I'm fixing it. Yours not work either?
Do you remember how we fixed that?
I don't work for spurts of like 3 days.
So let me show you a better way. I looked it up.
Yeah, it's just not working.